So hello friends, welcome to EduTap. So in the topper series interview of UPSC EPFO EO examination, today we have with us rank 216 of this examination, Mr. Alok Kumar Pandey. So Alok, welcome to EduTap, and I congratulate you on behalf of Team EduTap for achieving this milestone.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the EduTap team for giving me this opportunity to be here with you and share my experience with you.
Thank you, Alok. So Alok, the very first thing is, how are you feeling right now? What
Very happy.
let me recorrect my question. So what was your first response after seeing the result?
Actually, on the Telegram group, there was chatting going on that the results will be declared today. But by the 4 p.m., I thought that it will not be declared today. So I just sat quietly. I'm on station. I was on duty at that time on station. But after that, on the WhatsApp group, one of my friends shared the PDF link. I saw my name, but then I checked my roll number from the admit card. Still, I was like, कि कहीं ये fake तो नहीं है. I went to UPSC website and then downloaded the original result. Then I cross-checked everything, and then I called my father and mother first, then my brother, sister, and उसके बाद तो फिर series start हो गई call की, friends से call, relatives से call ही call चलते रहे लगभग 2-3 घंटे तक.
So Alok, kindly let us know in brief the background of yours.
So my father was in army, so I did my schooling from different states of Kendriya Vidyalayas. Uh, I did my graduation in 2000. I passed my graduation in 2017 from GV Pant Government Engineering College, Delhi. And after that, I started preparing for civil services. I gave mains in 2018 and 2019. In 2020, I was not able to clear the prelims. Then somewhere I realized that I need to settle somewhere because ultimately you need a job, and I was already 25 by that time. So in that year only 2020, this UPSC EPFO form came. So I applied for that, and I gave full 1 year to this preparation only. I fully focused on this EPFO only for
Okay.
1 year around.
So did you face any hardship in this process, because the process had itself more than 2 hours, more than 2 years period, right? It is around 2.5 years since the arrival of notification till the declaration of result. So how did you keep yourself motivated for this entire journey?
Yes, it was really very frustrating for an aspirant if you are seriously preparing for it. Earlier, the date was 4 October 2020, then it was postponed to May, then again it was postponed and finally held on 5th September. So it was really frustrating sometimes, but ultimately, if you are a serious candidate and you are serious for it, then you have to prepare for it. You cannot give it up because you have to fight for it and you have to deal with it.
But you were preparing for civil services simultaneously. So how did you balance both the preparation, that is EO examination and UPSC civil services?
If you talk about the syllabus part, so if you see the syllabus of EPFO and civil services prelims, the around 90% of the syllabus is almost similar. Lakshmika, for polity, history, and current affairs. Almost 90% of the syllabus is same, and only the difference is accounts part and this labor laws part. And in that also, if you see the previous year papers of EPFO, then you will find that questions are not very deep. So we need not to go deep into the account. So most of the syllabus was covered in civils only. So
So
was the thing.
you did not need to put too much effort to prepare separately for this examination, right?
It was not like that because I was not succeeding in civil services. So it was the only thing which I think that I can excel in it because I was able to clear the prelims in civil services. So somewhere I realized that this objective is my strength part. And in EPFO, we have only one objective examination. So I had given in lots of effort, but yes, somewhere my background was strong because of civil services. So I was able to easily sail it.
So Alok, few things always play a crucial role behind the success of every man, right? So what are those three things which have played a crucial role behind your success?
So the first thing is your motivation and patience to achieve high. Because in India or anywhere, if you are aiming for something high, it will take time. You will think that you will go and you can do it in 1 year only. So yes, there are many people who have cleared it in one first attempt only, become IAS and IPS officer, but they are very few. So we cannot generalize it. And if you failed once or twice, doesn't mean that it is the end. I have one of my friend who has given in 1 year, he has given UPSC civil service interview, he has given UPSC CAPF interview, he has even given this UPSC EPFO interview, but finally he got selected in none of the examinations. So there are failures, but ultimately you have to deal with it. And second thing is, I think the role of your parents, your mom, mother, father, your brother, sister, they will always keep you motivated. You need to talk to them your problems, because if you will not talk to them, then nothing can happen. Because एक टाइम के बाद ना फ्रेंड्स भी मतलब कहीं ना कहीं वो लोग अपनी लाइफ में सेटल्ड है, कहीं जॉब कर रहे हैं, तो उनके साथ आप बात नहीं कर सकते. बट योर पेरेंट्स, योर ब्रदर्स एंड योर सिस्टर्स आर ऑलवेज विद यू ओनली. आप अनएम्प्लॉयड हो, एम्प्लॉयड हो, दे विल लुक यू इन द सेम वे कि हाँ इन्हीं का बेटा है वो भाई है आपका, तो दे विल बी विद यू. And the third thing is I'm religious person, so I believe in God. तो अपने भगवान पे भरोसा रखो, तो वो भी will, because luck ultimately matters in every exam. तो
Right,
अपने
right,
भगवान पे भरोसा रखो, जो भी होगा अच्छा ही होगा.
right. So Alok, very well said. So if I talk about this examination specifically, so how much do you think that, how much time do you think that overall required for the preparation of this examination?
If I specifically talk about the EPFO, then there are two things. If you have the background of civil services, then definitely the person have an edge, because then you don't need to give specific time to GS part. But if you are non-civil aspirant, then you need to devote more time, because you have to study GS also, you have to study accounts also. But on an average, I think around 8 hours is more than enough per day. 8 hours is more than enough, because competition is very tough these days.
Right. So since you are working, so how did you manage time between your work and for study?
During my examination, I was not working. I have joined this organization in April this year only. So at that time, I was not working when I gave the EPFO exam.
Okay, okay. So Alok, if we talk about the sources always play a very crucial role for preparation for the preparation of for the preparation of any examination, right? So what sources you have referred for preparation of this examination?
Sources are most essential thing, because in the era of internet, you have lots of information available in front of you just on some clicks. But you need to filter out those things, that what is essential and what is not essential. So for the first thing, I would refer that look into the syllabus. But if you talk about the EPFO syllabus, it is very vague. The second thing is that we can look on to the previous year paper. So by that we get some idea that what kind of questions are asked. So if I talk about first the GS part, for polity, the I think Lakshmikant is the best book, and you don't need to refer more for that. You just go through the Lakshmikant, I think 2-3 times, and refer, then attempt some mock examination for polity. For history, I referred this Spectrum book. It is good. Talking about the accounts part, I referred YouTube and Google. Apart from it, I referred the 11-12 textbook of this accounts. I mainly focus on theoretical part, because when I went through the previous year papers, I found that the questions were very simple. It was not so deep. The fourth thing is labor laws. For labor laws, I did a lot of hard work, because I went through the 4 new labor codes thoroughly. I thought that questions will be asked on that, but unfortunately, there was no question from the new labor code. But apart from it, I have referred the summary of old labor laws, and the summary was okay. I was able to solve most of the questions in the paper, in the examination, through that summary only. So through Google, I referred the summaries of old labor laws.
Yeah, so if we talk about the syllabus specifically, so there are around 10 components in this examination, right? Out of which 6 or 7 you can say that you have prepared for the civil services examination. So there is not too much to do, right? But if we talk about 4 components like accounting, like IR and labor law, like social security and computer application, so how did you prepare these components specifically, because they are not the part of the civil services examination?
Yeah, accounting. If we talk about accounting, but specifically, most of us are engineering background or non-commerce background. For us, accounting was one of the most challenging part. But thanks to the internet today, we have many resources available on YouTube. EduTap has good content, good videos on this topic. So Google is there. You can refer to your commerce background friends who have done their BCom or masters in commerce. So I have talked to them also for my basic, because sometimes when you have not read something, even basic credit and debit becomes very difficult to understand. So you can get in touch with your friends also who are in this background, but don't waste too much time with friends. So this is the thing. Second thing you talk about, I think computers. So for computers, I didn't refer much, because I think that basic was clear from the earlier only. So I didn't refer much for computers and these things.
So Alok, you said that you have watched EduTap's YouTube videos. So did you find them useful?
Yes, it was definitely useful. It was
Okay.
useful. Even I gave the mock interview of EduTap also. That was also very helpful. The feedback given to me was very helpful in my real interview.
That we will discuss little later when we'll talk about interview, right? So right now we are talking about recruitment test only.
Okay.
So Alok, what was your daily study plan for this examination?
Uh, During the examination, I was at my home only, so my basic funda was कि उठो खाओ फ्रेश हो नहाओ धो and then पढ़ो. तभी मतलब हाँ, it was कि यार maximum you can study for 8 hours only a day. ऐसा भी नहीं है कि you should study for 14 hours a day, because if you will study 14 hours तो आप एक दिन कर लोगे, 2 दिन कर लोगे, एक हफ्ते कर लोगे, पर एक साल तक उस कंसिस्टेंसी को मेंटेन नहीं कर पाओगे. तो आई वुड सजेस्ट कि 8 to 10 hours, 8 hours के एटलीस्ट नेट स्टडी होनी चाहिए. मतलब इतना पढ़ो डेली तो हो जाएगा. मतलब और बीच बीच में ब्रेक लो. मतलब इट्स नॉट लाइक कि यू आर जस्ट कंटिन्यूसली स्टडिंग फॉर 2 hours. स्टडी फॉर 1 hour 45 minutes and then take a 5 minute break, listen to some song or go on your terrace, थोड़ा वॉक कर लो 10 मिनट के लिए and then come back in the evening टाइम में. और उसके बाद फिर हाँ, और 10 days में एक ब्रेक ले लो, जाओ कहीं घूम के आओ, तो दैट विल कीप यू फ्रेश. कभी कभी अपने फ्रेंड से बात कर लो, अगर है रिलेटिव से बात करो, फ्रेंड्स नहीं हो तो अपने पेरेंट्स से बात करो बैठ के, अपने ब्रदर से बात करो, सिस्टर से बात करो, तो दैट विल कीप यू रिफ्रेश ऑल द टाइम.
Right. So Alok, if we talk about current affairs, because you know that in this internet world, a lot of information is available, right? So what to choose, what not to choose, there is very much ambiguity in the mind of the aspirants. So did you refer more than one sources for current affairs, or you have stick to only one source?
Current affairs, if we talk about the current affairs, as you rightly said, that there are lots of resources available, but we need to filter out that what kind of resources we need. For that, I referred the previous year paper, because in the civil services UPSC, the current affair asked is different from what kind of questions asked in EPFO. EPFO if you talk about the current affairs, EPFO is more of a factual thing. They have asked some dates also. They have asked the names of the, I think, award winners. So for that thing, if you are referring the sources of the current affair that are mainly oriented for UPSC civil services, that I think that would not be much helpful. So for EPFO, I referred other current affairs which were useful in SSC and banks examination, because the questions were of similar nature in EPFO.
Okay. Great. And Alok, if we talk about revision thing, right? So you know that we all know that preparation is separate thing and revision is a entirely different thing, because we revise the things whenever our exam approaches. So how did you manage your revision part? So did you make any separate notes for revision, or did you revise from the main notes itself?
The revision is the key factor if you want to get success.
Right.
But one thing I think I'm lacking, or I don't know, I'm very poor in making notes. I have made notes, but I didn't refer it again. मैं notes में काफी poor हूँ, तो मैंने कभी notes बनाए नहीं. Like civil service में मैंने कभी notes नहीं बनाए. Because I think you can't make notes of M. Lakshmikant book. You can't make notes of Spectrum. It is itself a note. The book is itself a note. So what I used to do is I used to use a highlighter and highlight the points. So whenever I am revising it, I have read Lakshmikant in 3 years, I think more than 15 times. I have referred very few sources for the study, but I have read it repeatedly. So because if you are not revising it, then somewhere in the examination you will get confused. Here A सही है, B सही है, because you have studied. ये पढ़ा तो है आपने, but if you have not revised it, then you are not confirmed in yourself, and that may lead to negative marks also. कट जाए marks आपके. तो उसके बाद regret बहुत होता है कि यार मैंने पढ़ा था लेकिन ढंग से नहीं पढ़ा था तो रह गया. तो रिवाइज करो. और आई वुड सजेस्ट कि अगर नोट बनाते हो तो बनाओ, पर मेरा नोट बनाने का स्किल इतना अच्छा नहीं है, तो मैंने कभी नोट बनाए नहीं. करंट अफेयर के लिए मैं क्या करता था कि जैसे कुछ ऐसे फैक्चुअल न्यूज पेपर देखा, मेरे पास एक A4 शीट होती है बगल में, तो मैं रैंडमली उस पॉइंट को लिख देता था. ऐसे कोई फैक्चुअल न्यूज आई तो मैं रैंडमली उस पॉइंट को लिख देता था, और सामने स्टडी टेबल के आगे मैंने मतलब ऐसे A4 शीट बहुत सारे लगा रखे थे, जिसमें केवल करंट अफेयर्स के फैक्चुअल चीजें लिखी हुई थी कि ठीक है यहाँ पे ये अपॉइंटमेंट हुआ, आज ये चीज हुआ. So those things I did it for current affairs only, but not for the static part.
Okay, so what about the four new components which were the part of this examination and not in the civil services examination? So did you adopt the same strategy for those components also?
I think we are talking about the accounts, labor laws,
Right,
English
right.
and math.
Right.
So as I have discussed earlier, accounts का तो I think I have discussed. Labor laws के लिए as I said, I have read the 4 new codes very thoroughly which came recently. I thought
Oh,
that question
I'm talking about revision purpose, Alok. How did you revise these 4 components?
Okay, for the revision purpose also, in the accounts I have made some notes because accounts was totally new for me. So, and the books, if you talk about the 11th 12th class books, that was very thick book, so it is impossible to revise those books totally. So I made some notes for accounts. For labor laws, I have highlighted the points in the original code. I print out of that code and I've highlighted the points which need to be read. And I've also made little notes because as we have seen in the previous year paper, there was questions for like it is mentioned in which schedule of this act. So I have made the notes of schedules and chapters of the laws. I have made notes for that also.
Okay.
So
So
to
guys,
some extent, I have made notes, but in general, I have not made notes.
okay. So guys, those who are preparing for any examination, you can take this strategy from Mr. Alok that you need to keep your sources limited, right? So you do not need to read 10 books for a single subject one time. Rather, you should focus on reading one single book 10 times for that particular subject. So that should be the strategy, and that should you keep in your mind, while preparing for any examination. This is the key to success, right, Alok?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay. So Alok, if we talk about test series, mock tests, so mock tests and test series always play a crucial role, right? It helps in revision, it helps in retention of the knowledge. So did you give any mock test for this examination?
So for EPFO, actually, it is not a regular exam, and the last time the exam held in 2017, so I didn't refer much mock test because somewhere I felt that because it is not regular exam, so I think the mock test was not very. I personally didn't refer mock test, so I would. But I think if there are lots of coaching institutes who are providing good mock tests. So now I think the students should opt for mock test because it helps very. I think it is very useful in civils. I have appeared for the mock test and it was very useful. So I would suggest that yes, definitely you should appear for the mock test. But at my time, I think I didn't refer because I didn't find that any mock test was very much good at that time.
Right. So if we talk about which component was most difficult for you in this examination and how did you manage that?
I think look, if you are competing for any exam, every component is difficult. Nothing is easy because the competition is very tough. 9 lakh people filled this form. There was only 421 vacancies. So every component was difficult. But yes, if you compare within that, I think accounts was the most difficult part for me because I was a science background student. Then I did my engineering. So account was something very new. I have to put in lots of effort to understand the basic things also. So I think accounts was the most difficult part for me.
But you have excelled it, and right now you are ranked 216, right?
Yes, okay.
So okay. So Alok, let's discuss about interview. So in interview, what questions from what areas have been asked to you? Like it should be from HR, it can be from current affairs, it can be from EPFO as an organization, it can be from theoretical part, whatever the syllabus is mentioned in the notification itself. So what were the areas covered in the interview?
My interview was totally unexpected. I think I've talked to most of the friends. The interview was unexpected because generally we believe that whatever details we filled in the DAP, that is detailed application form, the questions will be asked from that only. But my interview was not from that. My interview was from different field only. My interview was mainly job oriented. They asked me about my job profile only. Then they asked me from my UPSC options that is geography. Then they asked me from this political questions. They asked me my views on animal rights. There were some random questions that people were throwing from there, and I was answering those questions. My interview was totally unexpected. And when I came out of the interview hall, then I went to my home and checked my chair board was Vinay Mittal sir. So when I looked into his profile, I googled his profile. I found that he was an IRTS servant, Indian Railway Traffic Services, and
Yeah.
he was the chairman of Railway Board for I think 3 4 years. So I get more. मैं काफी डर गया कि मैंने अगर कुछ गलत बोल दिया होगा तो उन्होंने तो पक्का पकड़ लिया होगा इस चीज को because he has served for more than 30 years in railways. But luckily everything I think went well. तो सब अच्छा था, ठीक रहा.
So didn't they ask anything from current affairs?
No, they asked me something regarding animal rights that our Honorable Prime Minister has given some speech on animal rights during COVID time. So they asked me that whether I remember it or not, but I was not able to remember it. So I politely said that, ma'am, I'm not able to recall it right now. So there was not much question from current affairs in my interview, especially.
And what about EPFO? Did they ask anything about EPFO?
Yes, they asked me the basic what are the functions of EPFO, and then they asked me the definition of employer and employee in the EPF Act. So basic things they asked regarding EPFO, not very deep.
Okay. So how many members were there in your interview panel?
There were 4 members. There were 2 male and 2 female.
Okay. So were they cordial or they were very harsh on you?
I think I
Uh,
don't know what strategy they follow, but the chairman sir was very serious at me, and the other sir who was sitting beside him was very smiling face. Even I was not answering his question, still he was smiling. I think they have some strategy in their mind that they want to view you from all your angles. So I think they have something that एक आदमी सीरियस रहेगा, एक स्माइलिंग रहेगा, बाकी दो का रिएक्शन न्यूट्रल रहेगा, बिकॉज दे वांट टू एनालाइज योर पर्सनैलिटी दैट हाउ यू आर डीलिंग विद दैट सिचुएशन, कि आप अगर सीरियस है तो कैसे डील कर रहे हैं उनके साथ। बट आपको ये चीज ध्यान रखना है कि हाँ, आपको अपना कामनेस नहीं यूज करना, इवन इफ इज सीरियस तो आपको पोलाइट रहना है, रिस्पेक्टफुल रहना है, आपको स्माइलिंग रहना है। मतलब ये नहीं कि आप डर जाओ कि सर सीरियस है, और अगर दूसरे से बहुत स्माइल कर रहे हैं तो भी इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि आपका आंसर बहुत अच्छा जा रहा है। आपको अपना मतलब ये नहीं कि हाँ मैं बहुत अच्छा गया मेरा, मतलब आप काम रहिए, आपको अपना पोज रहिए बिल्कुल, मतलब अपने आप को नहीं खोना है, वहाँ पे प्रेजेंस ऑफ माइंड रहना चाहिए हमेशा।
Right. Alok, this question I'm asking because a lot of aspirants have phobia in their mind with regard to the interview panel. They think that interview panel is very much strict, and they are very harsh on the aspirants. So that is why I have asked this question.
ऐसा टोल्ड यू कि उनके माइंड में आई थिंक रहता है कि एक एक मेंबर सीरियस रहेगा, एक मेंबर स्माइलिंग रहेगा, एक दो न्यूट्रल रहेंगे, बिकॉज दे वांट टू एनालाइज यू कि आप सबके साथ कैसे डील कर रहे हैं। तो आपको सबके साथ मतलब पोलाइट रहना है, अगर वो सीरियस भी है तो भी आपको स्माइलिंग फेस रखना है, कोई इतना डरना नहीं है कि वो सीरियस है मेरे ख्याल से, क्योंकि आई थिंक वो प्री प्लान होता है उनके मन में जो भी रहता हो। क्योंकि मैंने जो ऑब्जर्व किया है कि चेयरमैन सर वाज वेरी सीरियस, जबकि आई हैव आंसर्ड ऑल हिज क्वेश्चन, वेयर एज द अदर सर हु वाज सिटिंग बिसाइड द चेयरमैन सर, he was smiling all the time, although I was not able to answer 2 3 of his questions, but he was still smiling, and the ma'am's face was very neutral in all the answers. So I think this is how they judge you, this is how they analyze you, because they
Right,
have to
right,
analyze in just 15 20 minutes. So this is how I think they have planned, or I don't know what was it, but
right, right. So what was the total duration of your interview?
my interview was last interview on that day, so I entered at, I think around 5:15 p.m. So I think the panel members were also very tired. So my interview lasted for 20 minutes. I think it lasted for 20 minutes around.
Okay. So Alok, suppose if I'm an interview aspirant, if I'm an interview candidate, so what if suppose if some some members from interview panel ask me a question, but I'm not able to answer that particular question. So should I say no, or should I ask them to whether I can guess this question, or should I completely blindly guess that question?
The first thing is, if you don't know the answer, don't bluff, because they are very knowledgeable person. You should respect them, and you must not bluff them, because वो कहीं ना कहीं उन्हें पकड़ लिया कि आप bluff कर रहे हैं तो disaster हो सकता है फिर वहाँ पे। Don't bluff. Politely say कि sir I'm not able to recall. Yeah, sorry sir I don't know. I have said 2 3 times sorry sir I don't know. I'm not able to recall. So they will accept it, because interview is something कि वो random आपका question shoot कर रहे हैं, तो nobody can answer all the questions. So you can
Right.
politely say, sir, I don't know. And if you want to guess that, if you know something, you can politely say, sir, can I guess the answer, because I have read about it, but I'm not sure. So I want to answer it if you allow. They will allow you, or they may not allow you. You can ask them to guess, but don't bluff the answer, because it can be disastrous, I think. So don't
Okay.
bluff for anything.
Right. So Alok, in interview process, again, mock interview plays a very crucial role, right? So have you appeared for any mock interview?
Yes, sir. I think mock is very essential thing, because we whatever we have studied is okay, but interview is something different, where you have to face 4 people, very learned people. So at that time, with your sitting postures, your way of talk, everything matters. So I think in mock interview is something which plays a very key role. And I've appeared for the mocks. I have given the EduTap mock also, and the feedback was very important for me. They analyzed me for everything, and then they tell me my weaknesses and my strengths, and I worked upon it, and my interview went well. My real interview went well.
Okay.
So I think one should
Means
appear for mocks, because it
means
is
you
important.
found this mock interview very useful, right? At EduTap.
Yeah, definitely, sir, definitely. And I'm very thankful to the UTAP for having us to give you a box.
Thank you, Alok. So Alok, any message which you want to give to future aspirants?
In today's time, life is very, you know, the race is going on. Everybody is looking for government job. I won't say that it is bad, but मतलब जिंदगी में हार मत मानना कहीं भी। अगर आपको लगता है कि यू आर डूइंग गुड, प्रैक्टिस करो। अगर आपको लगता है कि इस चीज में आप सक्सेस नहीं ले रहे हो, तो यू कैन चेंज द ट्रैक ऑल्सो। ऐसा नहीं है कि आप 7 8 साल तक सिविल्स में ही लगे हो। मतलब ठीक है मतलब होता है, बट समवेयर यू नीड टू रियलाइज दैट कि हाँ नहीं हो रहा है, तो क्या पता कहीं भगवान ने कुछ और सोचा हमारे लिए, कहीं और अच्छा सोचा हो। तो एक बार ट्रैक चेंज करके भी देखो, अगर 2-3 साल अपने अटेम्प्ट दिए नहीं हो रहा तो ट्रैक चेंज करके देखो, क्या पता किसी और फील्ड में आप काफी अच्छा कर जाओ। लेकिन जिंदगी में कभी हार मत मानना, और बड़ा सोचा है तो बड़ा ही होगा कुछ ना कुछ। मतलब ये मानता हूँ कि मैंने सोचा था कि मैं ऑफिसर बनूंगा, तो आज ऑफिसर बना हूँ। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब नहीं हुआ, तो कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा ही होता है लाइफ में। जिंदगी में कभी हार मत मानना और पॉजिटिव रहना है।
Guys, those who are preparing for any examination, this is not about only EPFO, EOA examination. So those who are preparing for any examination, a message from Mr. Alok that you should not give up and you should be focused and dedicated towards your goal. Things will be happen for the best, right, Alok?
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much, Alok, for giving your precious time and sharing your strategy in detail with the future aspirants. That will definitely helpful for them. So thank you very much once again from the entire team of EduTap.
Welcome, sir, and thank you very much to you also and to the whole EduTap team for
Thank you, Alok.
supporting us and giving us this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Alok. You are most welcome.